Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that the human race no longer exists. No cities, no countries, no internet, no music, no history, nothing. Everything our species has ever built, gone. Now, here's the terrifying part. That future has almost become reality, not once, not twice, but over and over again throughout history. A single virus, a volcano so powerful it darkened the sky, a disease that wiped out entire civilizations, even moments when humanity came within minutes of destroying itself. If just one of these events had gone a little differently, you wouldn't be here. Your parents would never have met. Your grandparents would never have been born. Every memory you've ever made, every dream you've ever had would have vanished before they ever had the chance to exist. Today, we're counting down times humanity came terrifyingly close to extinction. Some of these stories sound impossible. Every single one is real. Let's begin.
The supervolcano that may have nearly erased humanity. Imagine standing beneath a clear blue sky when suddenly the sun disappears. Not for an hour, not for a day, but for years. Around 74,000 years ago, a massive supervolcano erupted in what is now Indonesia. Known today as the Toba eruption, it was one of the largest volcanic explosions our planet has ever witnessed. The blast hurled enormous amounts of ash high into the atmosphere. Some scientists believe the eruption triggered years of cooler global temperatures, disrupting ecosystems across large parts of the world. According to one scientific hypothesis, the human population may have fallen to only a few thousand breeding individuals. If true, every person alive today could trace their ancestry back to that remarkably small group of survivors. Not every scientist agrees this eruption alone caused such a dramatic population decline. But one thing is certain. Humanity lived through one of the most extreme natural disasters in Earth's history. And somehow, we survived. Unfortunately, nature wasn't finished testing us.
The plague that made people believe the world was ending. Imagine waking up and discovering that half the people in your town are gone. The streets are silent, church bells never stop ringing, and every sunrise brings more death than the day before. That nightmare became reality in 1347. A deadly disease later known as the Black Death began spreading across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Within just a few years, entire villages disappeared. Families were wiped out. Cities struggled to bury the dead. Historians estimate that tens of millions of people died, making it one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. To those living through it, it didn't feel like the end of an empire. It felt like the end of humanity itself. Yet somehow, civilization endured, but nature had one more devastating surprise waiting. The volcano that changed the entire planet. The year was 1816, but something was terribly wrong. Summer never arrived. Snow fell in June. Harvest failed. People starved. Not because of war, not because of disease, but because of a volcano. 1 year earlier, Mount Tambora erupted in Indonesia with unimaginable force. The explosion blasted enormous amounts of ash and gases high into Earth's atmosphere. Sunlight was blocked. Global temperatures dropped. The result became known as the year without a summer. Across the world, crops withered. Food became scarce. The famine spread across entire regions. Millions of lives were affected by a single eruption. Humanity survived once again, but our greatest enemy would soon become something far smaller than a volcano. The virus that infected 1 out of every 3 humans. Imagine waking up with nothing more than a fever. By the end of the week, millions of people around the world are fighting for their lives. In 1918, as World War I was coming to an end, a deadly strain of influenza began spreading across the globe. It moved faster than anyone could stop it. Hospitals overflowed, doctors ran out of beds, entire families became sick within days. By the time the pandemic finally ended, around 1/3 of the world's population had been infected. Historians estimate that at least 50 million people lost their lives, more than many wars combined. For a moment, It seemed as though humanity was losing a battle against something too small to see. But once again, we survived. Unfortunately, the next threat wouldn't come from nature, it would come from ourselves. The 13 days humanity nearly destroyed itself, October 1962. For 13 terrifying days, the world held its breath. The United States and the Soviet Union stood on the brink of nuclear war. Missiles were armed, military forces were on high alert. One wrong decision, one misunderstanding, one single launch could have changed the history forever. Some historians believe that a full-scale nuclear exchange could have killed hundreds of millions of people immediately. The long-term effects, radiation, famine, and global climate disruption might have threatened civilization itself. In the end, war never came, not because humanity was lucky, but because a handful of people chose not to pull the trigger. History remembers the crisis. Few people realize how close the world may have come to a completely different future, and somehow the greatest threats were still ahead. The asteroid that changed life forever. Look up at the night sky. It's beautiful, peaceful, but 66 million years ago, something came from that same sky and changed Earth forever. An asteroid nearly 10 kilometers wide slammed into what is now Mexico. The impact unleashed more energy than billions of atomic bombs. The ground shook. Mega tsunamis swept across coastlines. Wildfires spread across continents. Then came the darkness. Dust and debris blocked sunlight for months. Temperatures dropped, plants died, food chains collapsed. Around 75% of all species on Earth disappeared. Humans didn't exist yet, but this event proved something terrifying. Life on Earth can change forever. In a single day, if an object of similar size struck Earth today, human civilization would face its greatest challenge ever. But long before an asteroid could threaten us, the Earth itself almost became our enemy. When the Earth froze over, imagine a world where ice stretches from the North Pole almost to the equator. No forests, no grasslands, just endless frozen wilderness. Some scientists believe that hundreds of millions of years ago, Earth entered a period known as Snowball Earth. The planet may have frozen almost completely, or say oceans became covered in ice. Temperatures plummeted, life was pushed to its absolute limits. Many organisms disappeared forever. Those that survived did so in tiny pockets where conditions remained just barely livable. Had life failed to adapt, complex life, including humans, might never have evolved. It was one of the greatest survival stories in Earth's history, but humanity's closest brush with extinction, and that was still to come. When humanity was forced to fight the cold, imagine the world becoming colder. Year after year, forests disappeared, animals vanished, food became harder to find, and every day, survival became less certain. Around 12,900 years ago, Earth entered a sudden period of dramatic cooling known as the Younger Dryas. In many regions, temperatures dropped rapidly, ecosystems changed, entire ways of life were turned upside down. Scientists still debate exactly what triggered this sudden climate shift. Some point to changes in ocean circulation. Others have proposed a cosmic impact. Whatever the cause, early humans were forced to adapt or disappear. Against impossible odds, they survived. But the next catastrophe may have pushed humanity even closer to extinction than ever before. The day humanity almost ended itself after surviving supervolcanoes, ice ages, pandemics, and centuries of unimaginable disasters, humanity faced its greatest threat not from nature, not from space, but from itself. On October 27, 1962, the world came closer to nuclear war than at any other moment in history. American and Soviet forces stood ready, nuclear missiles were armed, military commanders prepared for the unthinkable. One launch could have triggered another, then another, until cities across the planet disappeared beneath blinding flashes of light. Crops could have failed, Food supplies could have collapsed for the first time in history. Humanity possessed the power to destroy itself. And then everything changed because of one man. A Soviet naval officer named Vasily Arkhipov refused to approve the launch of a nuclear torpedo during a tense confrontation at sea. His decision helped prevent a catastrophic escalation. History rarely celebrates his name, but millions of people may be alive today because he chose not to start a war. Think about that for a moment. Your family, your friends, every memory you've ever made, every dream you've ever had, might never have existed. Because one person made the right decision, humanity has survived volcanoes, pandemics, famine, and disasters beyond imagination. But the greatest lesson history has ever taught us is that our survival has never been guaranteed. Every generation inherits the same responsibility to make sure we are never the reason humanity finally disappears. Humanity has stood on the edge of extinction more times than most people realize. We've survived super volcanoes, deadly pandemics, global famines, and moments when a single decision could have ended civilization forever. Every one of those events could have erased our story before it was ever finished. Yet, somehow, against impossible odds, we're still here. Maybe that's what makes humanity so remarkable. Not that we've never faced extinction, but that we've always found a way to survive. The question is, if history tests us again, will we be ready? This has been The Untold Archives. If you enjoy documentaries that uncover the strangest, darkest, and most unbelievable stories in history, subscribe. Because history still has countless secrets left to tell.